Is this what you're talking about right here? I got this cool app on my phone too. I like how you can zoom in and do like the 3D and look at the city and everything. But my issue is that when you zoom out and you go into outer space, this Earth that we live on turns into a cartoon. This is a cartoon now. Where's the real Earth? Oh, that's right. Space ain't a real place. That's why this camera doesn't go into outer space. In fact, I'm going to show you right now where these images come from.
It's not that they wouldn't use the magical floating satellites if they could. It's that they don't physically exist, nor does the globe. They have been sending these up one at a time since it all began. I will allow them to explain it.
It's also the genesis for NASA's newly developed super pressure balloon.
The reason for super pressure ballooning is they have absolutely stable altitude, day, night, and it doesn't matter how cold the atmosphere is. They are sealed.
So your shape is always the same, you always displace the same amount of air, and therefore you have the same amount of buoyancy all the time.
NASA's been using balloons for science research for over 30 years. The exploration that can be done on balloons is continuing to grow. The standard balloon that I fly is about 660 feet long when it's made.
So let me get this straight. It is now public knowledge that they send up satellites on massive helium-filled balloons. As you should know, NASA is the largest consumer of helium in the world, for obvious reasons. But the issue with society is that they never critically think. Just think for a second here. If these are sent up to provide the world with all of the important information we need, and I'm sure the entire process is expensive and difficult to accomplish, then please explain to me what in the flat world do these pathetic animations do for you? Do they make you happy inside? Are they so super duper cool that you cannot see past the obvious CGI? The fact of the matter is everything NASA sends up on a balloon simply hovers above our motionless Earth. That is why they rarely speak about orbiting satellites, and of course, they never show footage. Here is some footage of a random evening with a man, the moon, and his Nikon P900. Notice anything floating up there?
Forget it, Bart. It's so bright out you can't see anything in the sky except the Fox satellite.
And then every now and then these satellites come crashing down. They fall out of the sky with those helium balloons attached to them all over the world. But you don't hear about it because you likely get your information from mainstream media. And I'm going to tell you why that's a bad idea. The same people that own the news are the same people that are perpetuating this hoax, all right? If you want the truth, you got to find it yourself.
Now, the Earth that I'm standing on has a slight negative charge, but the higher you move up in the air, the less negative that charge gets until you get high up in the atmosphere. There's actually a strong positive charge. In fact, the voltage change over just 1 meter is around 100 volts. So I'm just going to fly my drone way up in the sky, and it's going to be hanging this copper wire below it. And then I'll be able to see if I can actually extract enough power from the air to be able to do anything with it. So after my drone's up in the sky, at the end of my wire, it's going to be around 10,000 volts. Ouch! Shocked me. Okay, that's working. Holy cow. Holy cow, that's shocking me. Don't mind the loud beeping in the background. That's just the warning that my drone's about to fall from the sky due to low battery as I frantically try to get my Franklin Bell set up to work. But then finally it started ringing like it was supposed to. The tab is bouncing back and forth due to the charge buildup on the cans. It's working.
This is what daytime should look like if the sun was actually a star in outer space, like they say it is. The sky should still be quite dark. Oh, what a beautiful day. Let's go for a walk. Here we are at high noon. I'm just basking in the brightness. You ever look at the sky? The sun is quite small. So why would the mere presence of such a small star light up your entire sky blue? The sun is just a proximal star. That's 95 million miles away, allegedly. Why do I feel like the NASA fanboys are not going to like the fact that I used the word proximal? Like I'm not allowed to use a science term. Are you wondering how I got all these images of the sun against the dark sky? Spoiler alert, they're all pictures of a full moon. What are the chances that the sun and the moon are the same size, shape, and can perfectly eclipse? That's a 1 in a billion, folks. If gravity is causing us to spin as we orbit the sun, then why doesn't the moon spin as it orbits us? Uh-oh. Houston, we have a problem with the heliocentric model. It's kind of sus. Okay, so this is what daytime should look like if the sun was simply a proximal star in outer space. But what would daytime look like if the sun was a great light and it was set inside the firmament and it was shining through like a sapphire blue glass dome? What would that look like? All right, now we're talking. You ever notice that humans don't really agree on anything, but yet a blue sky day makes us all feel good? It almost seems like a creation. Like, God actually exists. He does. Then why does the moon have craters? And if the moon is a rock, when have you ever found a perfectly circular rock? And if the sun is an explosion of hydrogen and helium gas in an infinite space vacuum, where is it getting its oxygen from? And when have you ever seen a perfectly circular explosion? Never! Here's what's going on. The Earth is a level plane. Water is not bending at all around a ball. God made the stars to serve as signs and for the season. The sun is a great light, the moon a lesser light. But the craters on the moon are part of the strong delusion, 2 Thessalonians 2, 9-12. For those who don't want the truth, a strong delusion will be sent to them to further condemn them. Everyone turn away from the lie and follow Christ. He made you and he loves you. Amen.
Not a mirage, right? Your only excuse is that the mountain and the sun are already over a physical curve and they're refracting up perfectly to stop at eye level.
Wait, this is going below the horizon. I'm not sure.
So that mountain right there is called Mount Canigou. It's 9,000 feet high, but from 1,000 feet, if you use your curve calculator, you'll see it should be 16,000 feet or something below.
The top of this mountain should be over half a mile below the curve, but it's not. It's right there. But people on a normal day will look out and go, look, you can't see it because it's below the horizon. Now you would claim this is your physical horizon, but the light that's bouncing off of Mount Canigou doesn't have the power to push back all the way to your eyes because the atmosphere blocks it. However, the sun is much brighter than the reflected light coming off the mountain. And as the sun moves beyond it, it does have the power to push back 175 miles. And all of a sudden you can see the mountain. Now, there's two answers for what this means. It means the earth is flat or the earth is 1,000 times bigger than they're telling us.
Yeah, but is that what's his name? Media. What's the guy that did
Jay Tolan Media.
Jay Tolan Media. Yeah, he's been informed soundly by the science guy. I mean, I watched some.
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't.
You say the science guys, you mean like Fight the Tight Shirt and Simon Dan.
Bob the Science Guy.
Bob the Science Guy, the pedophile or whatever it is.
Well, whatever. I mean, I've read through it and it's very convincing.
Allegedly.
These are
Allegedly, yes.
Yeah, but Brian, here's the problem with like peer review. You're explaining the problem with peer review. Peer review is a problem because you're saying anything that comes from Bob the Science Guy, it's so soundly put together. Hold on, but
you're saying the same thing. You're saying one person doing this is a proof. It's
no, we're saying thousands of people have seen this observation. It happens twice a year.
Okay, but if I use it in my debunk curvature calculator, I'm positive I could find the reason why.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Do it then.
Let's do it right now.
Let's do it right now.
Do it right now. Let's do it right now.
Let's
go. I don't want to do it now because you guys.
Oh, come on!
You just said you'd be able to figure it out.
Listen, I'm not there, so again. They've debunked that Jay Tolan Media guy because he doesn't report.
Oh yeah, because you're right. Because
you don't have the right numbers.
Because as soon as we started to see too far, they added refraction.
I know, but if you're fudging the numbers like he's been
nobody's fudging the numbers.
What? You're gonna get different.
I always err to the side of the globe.
I read a whole
always.
scrolling page on Jay Tolan Media how he basically misrepresents.
Well, of course they're going to say that. Otherwise, Bob the Science Guy's out of a job.
Dave or Psyop Man Dan.
Neither of them. I mean, it's a long page.
Fight the Fat Shirt.
It's definitely like Bob the Science Guy or Wolfie or whatever their names are.
They do very careful and like
no, they do very careful.
Known liars. They're down in anything.
Very careful psychological
and they all hold the same thing. They all believe all of the same concept.
We're going to turn this into
demonstrating and experimenting with reality are flat earthers.
That's me. There's the equator. The sun is going to be right here. Okay? And it's going to be about that high. Okay? Okay. So this is going to get quite interesting. Okay. Watch. Okay, there's another thing. We're level. Why are we level? Because we're on a level universe. Period. Okay. You're catching on, I sense it. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the biblical aspect of it, okay? Okay. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. The earth was without form and void. And darkness was below the surface of the deep. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. Can you see where it's getting from? There's the sun. Get it? It's over the equator. See that dot? Interesting. Good. That's what you're in. You're in a firmament. Under a firmament. On a level universe. That's how it works. See? I'm mimicking. That's all I'm doing. I'm just copying it. Now, when you look at it, see where I am? Where the sun is? It's going to be just... Oh, I'm about here. It's on the left side of me. On the right side of me. Yeah. Doesn't lie. Just doesn't lie. Just not showing you right where the sun is to where I am. Let's move on. That's 12 o'clock actually. So I'm right on 12 o'clock. So this is 12 o'clock. That's how high it is. See, this is going to be taught in schools. Wow, that's cool, isn't it? You're actually seeing what you're in. That's how it works. Cool, huh? You see these names, Gemini, it's a twin. Okay, I don't know what it is. Now look at Africa. Notice Cain. After Cain, that's what that means. Huh? Okay, you can do this at home. Okay? There you go. That's what you're in. That's how it works. Doesn't matter where I move. It's gonna sink. The sun's right behind me, to my left. Well, from this view, it's to my left. Okay, and that's what it meant by the Bible when the heavens and God created heaven and earth, the form and void. That's what it's talking about. That's exactly what it's talking about.
NASA, in its wildest imaginations, never envisioned this scenario: an astronaut drowning in a spacesuit on a spacewalk 260 miles above planet Earth.
Drowning inside his own helmet
caused him to nearly drown inside of his own suit.
Water in his helmet?
It's an incredible story. Harrowing.
Almost unfathomable.
Unbelievable. This was one they had never envisioned.
So I experienced what it's like to be a goldfish in a fishbowl.
Hey, let's use a diaper. I thought that's a clever solution to this problem.
Yeah, pretty neat. They also came up with the snorkel idea too, you know.
Makeshift snorkels.
This snorkel, if water is encroaching your face, the crew member can lean down and use this to breathe.
They're ripping that spacesuit apart, trying to figure out where all that water came from. Not like there are that many options when you're out on a spacewalk.
Next on Jonathan Bird's Blue World, Jonathan goes to inner space.
I'm standing on the International Space Station.
Water in space.
NASA says they cannot guarantee the helmet won't fill with water again.
And obviously, if you fill the helmet, you can't breathe.
Scary story. Glad he made out okay. That's a leak.
Oh, it's an explained leak.
A significant leak.
When I was commanding the International Space Station, we had a significant coolant leak.
I imagine there are no insignificant leaks in space.
These things do happen.
It's not, something we don't have plans for.
But,
but you're in space.
You're in space, which means it's much more difficult to fix.
It's a pretty big problem.
Just about 3 hours now since we first observed what you're seeing on the screen, that being a leak.
You can only leak so long, and then eventually you stop leaking because you run out of fluid.
The fluid that you're seeing in the form of snowflake-like particles, it is a bit odd. Do not know what the source of that stream of particles is. A sudden stream's looking like a snow shower.
Space is tough, especially whenever you're trying to show video from space.
On the ground in the water tank on orbit, essentially the same picture.
Matthias Maurer was wrapping up a 7-hour-long spacewalk outside the International Space Station when he noticed water leaking into his helmet. It was eerily similar to what happened to an Italian astronaut back in 2013.
You can literally see bubbles coming up from these astronauts' helmets. It's ridiculous.
So many times during spacewalks outside the International Space Station, we can see air bubbles rising up. Can you touch on how there are air bubbles in space? So yeah, like a lot of times during the footage, the NASA footage, you can see bubbles coming up out of the helmets or kind of from underneath you. How do you explain bubbles in space?
Yeah, on the outside of the space station, you'll liberate little pieces of, it's a really harsh environment out there, and the outside of the space station can be up pretty good. And sometimes, you get a little fleck of paint or something that you might just probably floating away from it. And, that's generally what that is. I've never seen any kind of air bubble anywhere.
Yeah. Could it be that you're filming in an underwater pool and you're not really out there?
How's Bubbles in Space doing? How's what? Bubbles in Space? Bubbles in Space? Yeah. I don't know what that is.
What's up, man? Can you sideline the hashtag Bubbles in Space?
Hashtag Bubbles in Space?
Bubbles in Space, brother. What's your word on that?
What is that?
Bubbles coming out in the spacewalks?
Oh, you're that guy.
I'm one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm not gonna write that.
Not everybody can be a robot polisher.
Water in space.
Every day there should be different stars, random stars, in the sky if we are travelling at 650 million miles an hour, which is Mach 870,000. Do you really believe that every year we move through space at 5.5 trillion miles every year? And yet every year the same stars keep turning over our Earth. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, year after year after year, and yet none of those constellations distort, change shape, get brighter. There has never been, in recorded history, we have never seen any star get brighter or dimmer or any shape of those constellations which are still recognisable today as they were thousands of years ago, they never suffer any parallax or distortion.
Polaris has never moved in all of recorded history. Point your camera up at Polaris and do a time lapse and watch God's perfect timepiece spin above you.
And we move 5,694,000,000 miles through space every year. Congratulations to you if you believe that. It's called education, indoctrination, and dumbing down.
The lake is flat. The laser beam and the water will always be parallel to each other.
At a distance of 11.5 miles, and the flat Earth evidence here is overwhelming. The reflection of the laser on the water unequivocally demonstrates that there is no Earth curvature present. Obviously, you can see the source of the laser. But more importantly, look at the reflection. That reflection is not on a convex mirror. That water is flat. There is no question about it. You can't have that type of reflection on a convex surface. I just think that looks incredible, and I don't know how anyone can reasonably doubt the flat Earth truth here.